Hello there, my name's TechDave, and today we're looking at the Lenovo ThinkPad X200. Now, I've done videos on a different device of this, and way back when, a few years back, but today we're looking at a new to me X200. I got it on eBay for about £35 plus £5 postage and packaging, I think, if memory serves correctly. It came with 4 gigs of RAM, a 160 gig 500 RPM hard drive, which was like hot glued in place, which didn't fill me with enthusiasm. It has issues booting and various blah 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 blah, blah, but it was only £35, so I'm not complaining. It did have a fully installed and fully licensed copy of Windows 10, as you may be able to see on the wrist guard, blah blah blah, whatever this bit's called. This little Windows 10 sticker, which they probably put on themselves. Other than that, it works flawlessly. The problem is, I took out the original drive and tried to put a new drive in, wouldn't see, and now the old drive won't go back in. So I was trying to upgrade it to an SSD. So at the moment, I'm running it in a couple of different ways. One of which is using this 64 gig Lexar photography grade 250 megabit per second 64 gig SD card, which on this device the SD card slot is actually bootable. So I've currently got PopOS on there with i3 on the SD card, but then I've also got the ultrabase, which is a bit of a godsend really, because until I can be bothered to take apart the entire device just to straighten out a little bit of metal so that the SSD guides in correctly, I can use the ultrabase of the ultrabase 2, which is just called the X200 ultrabase. You can see the ports there, but we'll go over ports and everything in a minute. But basically I should be booting from the ultrabase drive, which also has a 60 gig rather than 64 gig. Copy of PopOS, but it's the full desktop environment in this case. So I'm going to dive in and show you a little bit more about the device and all the extensive array of things that I've got underneath this desk to get this working and to be able to make it possible to do a full test of how Python and specifically PyCharm run on PopOS on the X200, see what the limitations are, how it performs, and what we might be able to do to ameliorate some of the slightly lackluster performance of this. Well, it says Centrino, but it's actually a Core 2 Duo. It's 2.4 gigahertz. But we'll get more information to you. So I'll see you after the credits roll. So, to accompany the ultrabase dock, the X200 ultrabase 2, which actually, if we look around, has got power, 3 USB, VGA, and then what I am also pleased to see, it's got DisplayPort. So I'm going to use an eGPU with this for this video because I always do, and that's my thing. But it also means I can capture directly off the dock via my Elgato HD60. It's got audio in and out, which is Ethernet, which is handy because the dock doesn't actually support audio via DisplayPort. So that's the dock there, and then the basic device, we've got power, CPU vent, USB, VGA, Ethernet, USB, wireless kill switch. We've got the express card dock slot, which I was concerned might be MPCI because it's got a little locking mechanism, but I think I just forgot about that. I hope it's express card, otherwise I can't use the eGPU. And then we've got Kensington lock, drive bay, which is a bit crappy because it's obviously been damaged. I've got RJ11 telephone jack, which you can have some fun with, which I'm not going to, but maybe in future videos I will. Microphone, headphone, USB. The back, I think this is just a 3-cell or a 6-cell battery. It gets a good few hours battery life though. And then we've got SD card slot at the front, which is populated with the aforementioned SD card and the latch opening mechanism. And then we're going to dive into the extra components. But yeah, this keyboard is real nice, and under Windows you can tap the track point to click, which is why they took that out. I don't know. I think that's sick. It's got the Think Light. It's a lovely tactile, very similar to the X220 keyboard. Obviously, it's the precursor. Listen to that clicky, lovely, desirable keyboard. It's very nice. It's got a Think Bandage button for booting, and you can program that in under Linux or Windows. And obviously the track point. No trackpad whatsoever. Just don't need them. They're rubbish. They're clearly the inferior method of input, but as opposed to the track point, and you choose to berate me in the comments if you like. And hopefully a fingerprint reader, which I should imagine is probably pretty ineffectual. Then we've got a 720 or 480p webcam, but we'll find that out in a bit. And it's got Bluetooth and wireless WAN. I believe it's got the 3G module, which is completely defunct and unusable, although you can get drivers for it under Windows. So that's just the basic device. The docking station. I'm trying to rush through this because I want to get as little time wasted at the start of the video, so it's not boring. In addition to that, we have lots of goodies for GPU. So we've got the 500 watt power supply from my last T430 video. Doesn't need to stay up here. What else we got? So the GPU I'm going to use is the GTX, I think it's a 210. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's XFX GTX something or other. Doesn't actually say on it what it is, but it's a 1 gig GDDR3 graphics card. I haven't been able to get anything above that ever to work with my previous version of the X200 that I owned. So I'm guessing we'll have some luck with this, because anything over 1 gig just killed it. Passive cards didn't work, so it remains to be seen how that pans out. I may not need it. That's mostly for my benefit for filming. And then what else have we got under here? Oh, we've got a whole host of cables. We've got a power supply. We've got an eGPU USB stock with the express card adapter. We've got a bunch of cables, which are all just video cables, so they're not relevant. So my HD60, my Elgato HD60 capture card, and a spare SSD in case I manage to fix the drive bay. We've got the original 160 gig Samsung 5400 RPM drive, which is still, believe, rocking its original Windows installation. Might have erased it and put Linux on it, I don't remember. Then a USB drive to get Arch onto it. So the rough plan thus far is to try and get, I'm going to tinker off camera, try and get the internal drive bay working. I might document some of that, I might not. If that continues to fail, I'm going to put Arch with i3 gaps on here, test PyCharm. It's a viewer request. And then we've already got PopOS on the ultrabase, which I don't know if that's slightly out of shot. We've already got PopOS with the Plasma, KDE Plasma, I believe. And then I might just show you how bad the performance of Windows 10 is. But yeah, that's kind of the overview. So there's a bunch of other stuff I need, like I've got a TV down here which I'm going to use, but what I'm probably going to do is just switch over to this all set up and running via capture card, a bit of filming on my phone, and then we're kind of just going to dive in and see how PyCharm performs. I've had good successes on my X230 with PyCharm and my T430, so I know how to install it. I know what an average performance will be. I expect this should be worse, especially the unmatched, well, they're matched in brand, but there's 2 gig and 4 gig. So I've got 6 gigs, so I'm not getting dual channel. And it's a Core 2 Duo at 2.4 gigahertz. So let's just kind of dive in and see what performance we get, and then I'll do some tinkering and faff about for your viewing pleasure. Cheers. So after much faffing and watching of LGR videos to pass the time, I believe I've got a long beep and 2 short beeps, which means incompatible display adapter or graphics chip with the eGPU with the X200. However, I've got a GT710 that appears to sort of kinda out of rangeily be booting, and then it just goes to sleep. So I'll be back with more information. So where did we get to? Right, there is the X200. This is also the X200 via a KVM tucked discreetly under there, that little black box there. This mouse and keyboard is controlling my recording device. The eGPU didn't work. This graphics card, it turns out, is not compatible at some sort of BIOS level with it, and is actually a, let's see if I can get it to focus, a 640M or GTX, can't even read that, 280, 640 M1 gig, dual DVI, PCI, blah, 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 blah. Didn't work for some reason. So we solved the mystery of what a graphics card it was. Oh my god, this is so blurry. There we go. The GT710 did work, but then caused the computer to shut down, couldn't get a clear signal, couldn't quite figure out why. So I just resorted back to the original plan of getting the DVI out, and then that is going through my capture card, which is all tucked under there, via a KVM to this TV, so I can get good, clear, responsive, blah, 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 blah. Then we've got here at 4K OBS recording. That's just for viewing back footage and checking that the quality of the image and so on and so forth. So you will next see me over there, where we're looking at PopOS. Now, I've got something else to show you, but I might do a little cutaway for that. But in essence, this laptop now has 5 operating systems. Oh, sorry, 4. It will have 5, because I've ordered another SD card. But at the moment, we've got, just in here, Arch with i3 gaps. Then in the ultrabase, that thing with the red blue light, is PopOS, that's what's running here. And then in the main drive bay, I took the 500 gig SSD out of my X230, which is living up there at the moment just while I'm doing this project. So I've got Linux Mint and Windows 10 Pro as well. So multiple boot options, multiple potential. Don't go to sleep, don't go to sleep, don't go to sleep. We've got work for you to do. Multiple operating systems, so 4 in total, and it will be 5 because I bought a 128 gig SSD that I'm going to put dual boot of Kali and Arch Linux, or possibly another distro, maybe Fedora or something. I don't really know, just something really super lightweight, so that I've got 6 operating systems. Like if I put my, I can't count 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 operating systems just on the laptop, because that's the sort of thing I find quite entertaining and novel. And the cool thing about that is that you can just switch out the SD card, depending on what operating system you want to use. So it runs as well, if you get a decent SD card, as a hard drive. I can't remember the exact speeds, but it's faster than a hard drive. It's certainly faster than the 5,400 RPM drive that was in there. But yeah, somehow, that was the other thing I forgot to mention, I managed to get the caddy, the hard drive bay, to just work somehow by putting proper caddy on it and giving it a little bit of finagling. So we've now got the main drive bay working, plus PopOS in the ultrabase, plus Arch Linux on the SD card. So next we're going to look at the actual requested piece of information, which this is PyCharm, and this is, I don't know what the exact word is for it. I think an IDE for Python. There it says there. It's basically a programming tool for Python. So we're going to move over to this here now, and then probably just show you basically how it works. I've also got PyCharm installed on my Linux Mint install, which I'm probably going to switch to depending on what happens, just because I ain't that good at programming, and I've already got a load of stuff that I did for a Python programming course on there so that I can show the performance of the device. So we'll be back with that. So here we are on PopOS on the desktop, without any GPU at the moment. I thought we'd just look at some basic stuff, and I went to the ThinkWiki just to show you what. Get off me, spammy pop-ups. So yeah, as you can see, this is the overview of the X200. Mine is this one, the P8600, 2.4 gigahertz. They've got the Intel Graphic Media Accelerator 4500 MHD. Which unfortunately means I won't be able to use Parsec or any of the other kind of graphically accelerated stuff that I like to do, but it seems to be working perfectly well for these purposes. But however, I'm probably going to try to get the eGPU working again, because I realised that the TV I was using was actually kind of possibly what the problem was, so I'll try that again later on. So we'll come back to that later in the episode, video. I've got the, I think I've got the LED backlit version, 12800. I've currently got 6 gigs, but 8 gigs is totally viable, but I just need to get one more stick of the correct speed. I've currently got the aforementioned 60 gig SSD in the ultrabase, 500 gig SSD in the main drive bay, and an SD card, all of which is bootable. And you can see that that's the media reader there, gigabit Ethernet, blah 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 blah. And the modem, which I think I could probably have a bit of fun with. I don't know if it's got Wi-Fi Max. I believe it has the wireless WAN module, but I haven't actually opened it up and had a look. I may play with that because you can get that working, and though it's only a 3G signal, what you can do with it is send text messages, which would be quite handy, like SMS messages, and then it might give you just that little bit of enough of connectivity to get WhatsApp working as well, which I thought would be quite fascinating. So as you can see, I'm just on eBay here, and I'm looking at the wireless WAN module, because unless these drivers that are installing now will somehow magically make that work, I don't think, because I put a SIM card in, it's got all the right bits except for the actual module, and the only one that looks right is from Germany, which is 15 quid plus nearly 18 quid, plus then I have to pay import tax because of political reasons that I can't mention. So it looks like it's a no-go for this at the moment, because I might as well get a laptop for the amount that'll cost me, because it'll end up costing me about 60 quid just to get it, just for a bit of WhatsApp and text messaging. So unfortunately that is no dice. It doesn't have the Intel Turbo memory. My old one did, I believe, actually. The webcam is there, 1.3 megapixels, so that's going to be garbage. Fingerprint reader, which I do have. Bluetooth I do have. I believe I've got that. Active system protection. I've got Express Card 54. I think I've got the 4 or 6 cell, but I'm fairly convinced it's just the 4 cell, because I only get a couple of hours battery life. If we look up here, I've got high performance I've plugged in, but how do I actually look at the battery type? Let's see if I can pull that up for you. It should tell me the battery. It does on other OSs, but we can look at that later in Linux Mint, because that definitely shows that. So yeah, you can look this up. It's just, that's the URL if you want to look any more information about it. There's a ton of stuff. My old one had the 2.66 P8800, which was good enough at the time to play quite a few games with an eGPU, but that was over 3 or 4 years ago. I don't have the GTX 580 that I had before, so there's not really any way of replicating that for you, but I'll post a link up in the cards to the earlier video of how it performs. I just want to show you that briefly. So this is the nice thing about this. So I've just got a terminal open, just showing which version of PopOS I'm using. So it's 24.04 long-term support with the NVIDIA drivers built in, but I haven't actually tested it with NVIDIA cards yet. Blah 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 blah, all that you can see, and then there's my CPU at 2.401 gigahertz and the 6 gigs of RAM, and then system monitor shows you that. So across our dual core, aka one socket, 2 cores, we're idling at a roughly quarter to third maybe of the CPU usage, and that's with just the terminal, the pop shop, and 1 browser open. We're using 39% of our RAM for that process as well. I'm using Mozilla, and our swap space is not doing anything at the moment, so that's cool. But the reason I wanted to show you anyway, this is what we're here to do, is to install PyCharm. So I just went to the pop shop, searched up there, PyCharm. You want the community edition unless you're a professional user of it, and then we're going to see what happens, how long it takes to download. I might come back when this is done, depending on how long it takes, and then once this is installed and we show it working on PopOS, I'm going to boot into Linux Mint, because I've got all my tutorial demonstration stuff to show you how efficiently it works. So I'll be back once we've had a look at the full duration of the download time. This is on Wi-Fi, so I've not got Ethernet at the moment attached to this device, so this is just via its built-in Wi-Fi card. I'll be back. So I'm just installing Parsec next, but our PyCharm install, if you look at the last section of the video, if you really want to check, it took 6 minutes to download PyCharm. So let's see, it should be there. There we go. I'm going to drag this onto same workspace. Once we've got PyCharm open, which I'm waiting for. There we go. So you want to confirm the URL, continue. Don't send anonymous statistics. I know that's Linux users frown on that sort of thing, but I've been burned by too many dodgy things to ever trust anything like that. Wait for that to download. Trust projects and app share. Trust project. Don't know if that's safe. Don't really know how to use it. Light edit, opening project, light edit, simple edit, blah, 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 blah. Okay. The unofficial Flatpak version. Okay. So basically that's how you install it anyway. Now what I'm going to do, switch. It took 6 minutes to download on the Wi-Fi. This is what I want to bring up, but I'll tell you what, we'll do it all in Linux Mint. So as you can see, I'm now restarting. If it lets me show you on here, I'll keep the footage in, otherwise I'll just quickly cut to a camera. It did actually work. Look. And there you go, you can see it now as well. So that was our PopOS install. This is Arch, and then I'm going to go to Mint, because I've actually got some very rudimentary Python projects that I can show you through. So let's just type blah 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 blah. As you can see, we've now logged in, or we're about to begin logging in. So here we are in Linux Mint, but it's not exactly Linux Mint, it's Linux Mint with i3. So the end goal is to get to this, where you've got PyCharm running, and you see you've got all these kind of little Python programs that it runs. For example, I don't know if that'll even work, but enter your, there you go, so enter your birth year, show my age, it tells you how old you are, and just little things like that. You can see the system resources at the bottom here. Running Python is using nearly 2 gigs of RAM. I've got 3.6 remaining, and then CPU speed is at 1.12. I believe that's CPU speed just down there where I'm wiggling the mouse. And as you can see, it's not a trouble to run most stuff. What else we got? Wild loops apps. Where's that one? Calculator. There we go. Let's use the calculator instead. It's a bit embarrassing for me, like trying to run this sort of thing, because I don't have the slightest clue as to how to really use it properly. But I just wanted to demonstrate it works perfectly well. If you had 8 gigs RAM instead of 6, you probably get slightly better performance, and that it is entirely viable to run Python in some at least rudimentary capacity on the X200. So I just wanted to evidence that. Some of them aren't quite right. This one, for example, and I'm not clicking the right thing. But yeah, I honestly don't really know how Python works. I just want to show that you can in fact use Python on the X200 with my configuration. So I'm just going to quit this. Yeah, see you later. And the other thing that's worth mentioning here, if I just clear the terminal, I had to, using the jetbrains.com help/PyCharm installation guide, I did all of this. So I'll either put the URL on the screen, or you can just literally read it from the screen. I downloaded that, put it in my downloads folder, and then I run it every time manually from downloads. It's probably a more efficient way of doing that, but just on this particular install, that's how I do it. So yeah, I think I've sort of shown what I wanted to show there. So I'm gonna and quit out of this and be back with a little bit more about the X200, please. So we have moved on. I don't know how much of this you're aware of. We now got the eGPU going into the same cable, and we appear to have a fully working eGPU. So maybe to finish this up, I might replace the PopOS drive with one of my many hard drives. So I've got here 320 gig drive. Might put Windows XP on that, play some games. I don't know how I would get the games on there because I need a DVD drive, but we'll figure that out when we get there. So I think that's probably the next thing I'm going to do, since I've got a working eGPU and it's got 6 gigs of RAM, 1 gig VRAM. I'm going to have a little tinker around, but yeah, probably going to just be back with some final notes of Windows XP on this device if it works. So yeah, after that XP thing, sorry about the flickering, see if I can get it to stop. I'm copying over from my T430 driver pack called Snappy Driver Installer, which I got originally from Phil's Computer Lab. But in the meantime, just for the lols, I thought I would experiment with the laptop, because with Windows 10 basically, because at the moment I'm trying to keep my name off there. At the moment, come on, it's missing the fingerprint sensor, PCI serial port, serial communications controller. The eGPU is now working, obviously. I think I showed you that in the last scene with the GT710. And Snappy Driver is notoriously good for getting things to just work that shouldn't work, basically. I think we've established that I don't have the hardware for any cellular, which is annoying, because I would have liked to have had that. But as I showed you before, it would cost me about £80. So I've got an hour to wait for this to do its thing. Sorry again about the flickering. We've got an hour for that to copy over. So once World of Tanks is updated, you might see a little footage of some relatively modern gaming on this device as well, using the eGPU. So that'll be next. And then might not bother with Windows XP, just because, right, let me justify this. So it's really hard to get any drives to work in the main drive bay. Sorry about the blue LED. The only one I managed to get working was my 500 gig SSD in a caddy. Now I'm going to attempt that, but I want to finish the video first before I attempt it, so there might be some bonus footage. Then I can put a DVD drive in where this horrible blue LED is. Then I can potentially play all of these, which would be quite fun. So the last thing we're going to do is World of Tanks, and then I'm going to faff about off camera, and if I can get it working, we might see some hot Windows XP action, so who knows, it remains to be seen. So I've pretty much done all the testing I wanted to do for this particular video. The X200 seems to be fully viable for programming. And the next video I'm going to be doing is probably, because I managed to get a 320 gig hard drive working in here as well, so I think there is some hope for that drive bay if I actually strip it down. I'm going to be doing another video in the future where I Libre boot this and get more freedoms and stuff. More freedoms. I'm going to play about with it a little bit and have some fun. So in the Libre booting process, sorry, I got sidetracked. In the Libre booting process, I'm going to take the whole thing all the way down to the motherboard, clean it up, repaste the CPU, dust out all the fans. Going to get another 4 gig stick around, take up to 8 gig, and I'm going to just kind of clean it and get it into a nice decent state. And hopefully this video is in any way useful or interesting in regards to whether Python runs on the X200. Yes, it does. We had a little bit of a play with an eGPU. So the next video I'm going to do, which I'm going to start immediately filming now, when I finish this section of talking, is running this thing as a gaming PC with the GT710, with a DVD drive in the ultrabase, which I managed to squeeze in there by removing the faceplate. It's my T430 DVD drive. I think it works. It should do. It seemed to come out when I pressed the button when it was on. So yeah, that's going to be just basically for my own entertainment, because I've got like a vast library of games that you would have seen previously in the video that would run primarily and perform best on Windows XP. So I will see you in that next video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share the video with anyone who might find it interesting. And I'll see you in the next one.